KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you black.
Leave this one alone. She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this final hour of today's program. And in this hour, world-renowned actor and performance artist Eric Bogosian, who is perhaps best known for his recurring role on the hit TV detective show Law & Order back in the day. But he's also authored a number of plays and appears in AMC's Interview with the Vampire. Season 2 premieres this Sunday, May 12th. And there's so much other stuff that Eric has done in his career. I look forward to a career conversation with him in this hour. Eric, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
I'm very well, Tavis. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well and delighted to have you on, and look forward to this hour. I want to talk about the legacy of talk radio, your project, and the landscape of media today. I guess I should start by asking you to reflect on the legacy of that project, Talk Radio.
Well, I don't know what our legacy was. I'll tell you, when the movie came out, and it was directed by Oliver Stone at a very successful time in his career, it kind of came and it went. But over the years, it's built an audience. In fact, it's had I would say its biggest legacy is on my own personal life, because I keep ending up in projects because somebody liked the movie so much. So Roland Jones, who directs, is the showrunner of Interview with the Vampire, decided to make me the interviewer based on my, I guess, talk radio. I guess he was always thinking about that when they were writing the show. And now we're in our second season. But as far as talk radio itself, something has been happening in the mass media nonstop since probably forever. I mean, we had a president in 1980 who was a president because the way he affected people in the mass media, Ronald Reagan, and that would happen again with Donald Trump. I mean, it's not necessarily a thing that I'm happy about, that when people make a big splash in the mass media, let's say in movies or in a TV show, that they are then able to translate that into politics. I don't know why. It's funny, when liberals say things, political things, they say, you don't have any right to talk, you're an actor, you don't know anything about politics. And yet we keep electing these actors and performance people as presidents. So I guess everybody has a right to an opinion. In the late 70s, in the early 80s, well, I guess in the 80s, when I started working on talk radio, which was recommended to me by an artist, and we ended up working on together, Tad Savinar of Portland, Oregon. When we first started thinking about it, shock jocks were the thing. And shock jocks actually have roots all the way back to the 60s. I remember guys in the 60s on New York TV who would purposely bring guests on just to ridicule them. And later there were these guys that were basically trying to say whatever they could say to get attention. I think that's the bigger topic, which is, and we see this again and again and again, this guy that I like block his name out of my memory, but the guy that ridiculed the killings of the school children up in Connecticut, he built a whole show around saying the most outrageous things, and you will build an audience off of doing that. For me, as somebody who comes, I've been on stage since I was 15 years old. I'm very interested in what happens with an audience and with my need for an audience and the audience's need for me. And that is the energy, that is the thing that I'm looking at with talk radio. Of course, what happens is, like, let's just look at Rush Limbaugh for a second. Rush Limbaugh basically cheerleaded us into a horrific war in Iraq. And then after, when the smoke cleared and everybody saw it was such a huge mistake, cost of enormous life and material, when it was all over, he said, well, I'm just a comedian. I'm just here to entertain people. Don't blame me. Mm-hmm. And yet he was there putting ideas in people's heads as the run-up into that war and during the war. Mm-hmm. So it's a real thing. It's a real force in our lives that has to be acknowledged.
So let me probe a few things you said already, Eric Bogosian. Number one, your critique of, how about I put this, your critique of the power of mass media. It's not like media has ever not been powerful, but the expanse now is so much greater than it was even when you did talk radio. And I don't know that they use that power responsibly. In fact, I know they don't. But just talk to me briefly about the power of mass media in the world that we live today.
Sure. I mean, as you know, because I think we talked about my Armenian book years ago. I was on your show, and I did a lot of research into World War I. And World War I was created by the mass media in many ways, because newspapers had become like, there wasn't any TV, there wasn't really any radio either, so people were reading newspapers, and in the newspapers basically told them that war was kind of like sports. You had teams, like there was Germany versus Britain, and you just get in there and you have a great old time, and then all these people got killed and died horrible deaths or came out of the war maimed, and then everybody was sort of in shock after World War I. And so, but the thing is, newspapers are something you have to read. The minute you start actually seeing somebody, or even the voice is an amazing thing. Speech making is an amazing thing. They say don't compare Trump to Adolf Hitler, but I will compare them because they are both people who can hold an audience. And that's so, when you watch Trump in his rise to power, when he was running for president the first time, watch him just destroy these other people who were up against him, these nincompoops of the Republican Party, and he would just knock them down one by one because they had no presence, they had no charisma. And all of that stuff counts in the mass media. And we're watching it take on a life of its own. I mean, who knows what the future brings, because we're just now exploring, things like, YouTube or Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever it is. These things, there are people popping up. I have a niece. Nisa Pisa is her handle on YouTube. She has hundreds of thousands of followers. Has nothing to do with me. She talks about herself. She's funny, and she just gets out there. She comes from, nobody ever heard of her before, and now she has all these followers. Oh, yeah. And it's because she's funny. No, and because she's charisma.
Yeah, it's the way of the world. I take your point. When we come forward, I just asked your critique about the media, but I don't want to get too far away from this. I want to ask your critique, though, of the demos. The media is one thing, and they are powerful, but the demos is something else. And you made a powerful point that the demos continues to fall for this stuff. We fell for Ronald Reagan. Many of us fell for Donald Trump. And so I wanted to get your critique on we the people, if I can put it that way. Eric Bogosian is our guest, if I can say it, in this hour of Tavis Smiley.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey, y'all. Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained.
They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They want to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and Clear Skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweat, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the brilliant actor Eric Bogosian in this hour. We were talking earlier about his star turn in the Project Talk Radio, which was directed by Oliver Stone back in his early days, and reflecting in this hour on the power, even today, of right-wing media. Since that most famous creation. Before I get to your critique of the demos, what was it like working with Oliver Stone in those early days, Eric?
The Talk Radio, the movie, was based on a play that I had done in New York, and I had starred in the play, but I was the author. So I was the writer and the star of the film, and that made the days very intense. And you asked what it's like to work with Oliver Stone. Well, Oliver was happy to make things even more intense. He's a guy who, I think he's hard on himself, and was hard on me, and he was hard on the crew. And I think, but you know what's funny is that everybody wanted to work with him again. In the realm that I live in the world of TV and movies, I mean, it's wonderful when you get to work with somebody who's, absolutely a pleasure, and you feel like they're your best friend when you get to the end of the job. But you'd rather, there's nothing you'd rather, but you want to make good stuff. And if it turns out that it was hard making the good stuff, then okay. And this was a hard project to make. We were on a very short schedule, and again, I was pretty green as well. And he would he would hammer me. He would hammer other people on the set. He would kind of shake his head in disappointment at certain performances. And very early on, when we were first shooting my stuff, he told me that he had seen the early stuff we had shot, the very first couple of days, and he said it was awful. And I said to him, well, what do we do about that? And he just shook his head and looked at the ground and walked away. And I just thought, well, I don't care. I mean, this is my ticket. I have to, get back on the horse and do the best I can. And that's what I did. And as it turned out, the latter, it was true. The first couple of days were awful. And so what happened was I actually got cut out. If you watch the movie, you don't see me for a couple of minutes. You just hear my voice. We went back and did that later because I was so green. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was terrible. So we got rid of that part. That's the way you got lemons, you make lemonade. The rest of the movie turned out okay.
No, he is a seminal figure in this business, to be sure, the business of Hollywood, but a unique figure, to say the least. And so I wanted to just get a sense of what Oliver was like back in the early days. I spent time with him over the years and interviewed him, hung out with him, and he's a fascinating guy, but a bright, just a bright guy, a brilliant mind. And I'm always fascinated to be in conversation with Oliver Stone. So I asked you earlier your critique of the mass media. You shared that with us. But to your point, that we have on a couple of occasions, if not more, speaking of movie lines, fallen for the banana in the tailpipe. Thank you, Eddie Murphy. And we elect people, who have appealed to us through their mass media appearance. You mentioned Ronald Reagan. You mentioned Donald Trump. What does that say about the demos, about we the people?
Well, it's just that for tens of thousands of years, human beings lived in very small communities, and there's always somebody who's kind of a leader, has a louder voice, or has some charisma or something, and it's natural that we're going to react to that. But when you supercharge it, and it's more than turbocharge, I don't even know what the term would be. When you multiply it a zillion times in the mass media, we still react like when you see somebody you like a lot in a sitcom, let's say, and you just love them, you're reacting the way you would react to that person if they came to your house and they visited you, or they were sitting at your table and they were really funny at, Thanksgiving dinner. You have that one-on-one feeling with people in the mass media, but of course what's happening to them is that they are enjoying tremendous power and wealth and whatever, and sometimes people, perfectly from my perspective and my experience with mass media, I had enough. I didn't need to keep trying to get higher and higher up in some mountain, a pecking order of this business. And the people that are at the very top are either the most insanely talented people, which you can't even imagine how intense their talent is, or they're nuts. And they have this need to have this millions and millions of people audience, and because of the power and what it does for their ego or whatever. So what happens is some of the worst of us become the people who are everybody's looking at, and that gets proven again and again and again. There's so many superstars and celebrities who are really key in our culture. And then we find out these horrible things about them, and they're just, they're like, oh my God, that guy's despicable, or that woman's despicable. We don't want them I don't want them coming in my house. But prior to that, they were like, oh, lovable. We all have different people in our minds, so I won't name anybody specifically, but, there's plenty of people that became superstars who in some way or another, or just have lost track of their own life, and they just go completely out of control and die of drug use or something. And you go, why? Why wasn't that guy happy? He had everything. So at any rate, the problem comes when somebody is truly pathological or a sociopath, and they have this ability to have everybody look at them, and they run with it, and then they actually are telling us how to live our lives, and then that's crazy. I mean, I don't want a psychopath telling me how to live my life. And also, they may not be telling me these things because they believe in them. They're telling them because it's what's going to get them even more power. Yeah. That's the definition of a populist, right? A person who says what the public wants to hear, but has no intention of actually doing it. Which is, again, I mean, I don't have to mince words about Donald Trump. I think that that's exactly what he did. He said he was going to do certain things. He never did them. He did one thing. He gave big tax breaks to rich people. He did accomplish that, I guess.
Nope, you are preaching to the choir, as they say.
No.
I take your point.
I think you're kind of a liberal too.
Just a little bit.
Qualify.
Just a little bit. Yeah. I take your point though. Let me pivot to this because one of the things that Donald Trump is really good at, pardon the pun, is monologuing. He's really good at the monologue, right? Yes. I gave a speech not long ago, Eric, and this is a bit of a non sequitur, but I hope you'll indulge me with this. I'm working my way toward your project, 100 Monologues, and what it means to be.
I feel it. I feel it coming.
Yeah, I'm pushing toward that. But I gave a speech the other day, and I made the point. Somewhat parenthetically, but I ended up unpacking it more than I thought I would. But the point was that part of what's wrong with this country right now, and there are many things, of course, that's wrong with our country, but one of the things is that we too often, I said to the audience, engage in monologue, but don't spend enough time in dialogue. Everybody wants their 15 minutes. Everybody, and in Donald Trump's case, he still won't get off the stage, but everybody wants to monologue, and I see this all the time. It is at the core, at the epicenter, frankly, of what drives social media, and the fact that everybody has a voice. So everybody wants to monologue, but nobody wants to dialogue, and I regard that as one of the things that's wrong with our experiment, as I call it, in democracy. Your thoughts on that point first?
Well, I agree with you, but looking at it from a completely different perspective.
Please.
I'm a theater guy, right?
Yeah.
So I love what happens in the theater. You get a bunch of people together and they watch something together, and you can feel in the audience how they go for it or they don't go for it, and they kind of let each other know how they feel. And very often, I believe that people will, as a group, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm idealist, but they will tend toward more positive values when they're given that opportunity. When you're dealing with the mass media, though, as you talk about dialogue, well, in a live theater, there is a dialogue between the stage and the audience. But when you're doing stuff in the mass media, it almost brings out the worst of people. And you see that particularly in the way people torch each other in reactions to things. Like, for some reason, I mean, I read the New York Times every day, and there'll be reviews in there of like a play or a movie or something, and then people write their comments. There are people who think that they should write a comment. They'll say, I didn't see the movie, but I know I would hate it. Mm-hmm. Why would you waste your energy saying something like that? And yet people, there's so much anger, and it's all, I don't really know where it's coming from because it's all that anonymous thing that's going on. I mean, look, I'm not a sociologist, and people have commented on this stuff plenty. You don't need to hear me go on about it, but there is that anonymity, and I agree with you that dialogue is great when it's real dialogue. Yeah. Now, you have a real town hall, and you're going to have dialogue. You have a radio show like the one that is in talk radio or any radio show, there's somebody picking and choosing who gets to talk to the guy. And, you know, what happens is they don't pick and choose because of democratic principles. They pick and choose who's going to make the audience keep listening. So, I have a lunatic here who's going to start saying crazy stuff. Good, let's put that person on because that person will get more people listening. You know, Rush Limbaugh, I could listen to Rush Limbaugh because there was rarely listen to him. But the thing is, if I listened to him, I wouldn't be thinking to myself, oh, I'm with him. I would just be like listening, like looking in a window. And that's what happens with a lot of people. They say, oh, I'm going to watch this show. It's kind of cringy, but I kind of like it. I want to see those people kind of doing weird stuff. And so there's that's the mass media. But again, it's like I say, it's like a different way of looking at what you said. But I'm all for dialogue. I wish there were more dialogue right now with what's happening in the college campuses, because I don't understand why people are so entrenched against each other. Why can't they sit and have a conversation? But I guess it's just not possible. I don't know. I'm not, so I don't know.
No, to your point about Rush Limbaugh, and tuning in to just check him out, not because you agree with him. I've had this conversation more than once with people who are more liberal, more progressive in their politics, but they will tell me they watch Fox News. And they watch Fox News, and I'll ask them why. Well, I want to see what they're saying. I want to be in the know. I want to. They'll give you answers, and I ain't mad at nobody for watching Fox News, but that stuff never resonates with me. I don't have the time or the energy to watch a network that's going to lie all day long, lie and obfuscate and choose the things that they do want to talk about, ignore stories they don't want to cover, running the Republican Party playbook, pushing an agenda that I think is antithetical to the best interest of this country and those of us who live in it. It doesn't work for me, but I've heard that argument time and time again, Eric, that I tune in so I can know what they're talking about. Well, fool, you know what they're talking about. You know what they're saying. You ain't got to tune in and increase their viewership to figure that out.
There's a lot of negative stuff going on there, and people are attracted by all the negative, and again, the hate and the anger. And okay, just talking about dialogue in the most fundamental way. Let's talk about black-white dialogue. Many, if not most, white people in the United States don't have any experience. They don't know anybody who's black. They barely know one person or something.
That's right.
So there's no dialogue. So all the information they get from the mass media, and then they think they know something, and they don't know anything. They know a completely distorted BS approach to this is who this person is. Or you could pick any group you want. You could pick me, Armenians. But it's people don't have experience. When people are around each other, then they get to talk to each other and feel each other and get to know each other and like each other. But, it doesn't make for good drama on TV. Hate and anger, dysfunction is the thing that is very watchable. So then you got to back into a sort of a McLuhan way of looking at things, that the medium is the message, that the very fact that mass media is look, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, there was hardly any TV. I used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch a test pattern because there wasn't any TV. It was like Clarabelle the Clown or something, and Bozo. It was like almost nothing to watch, and it was boring. So I had to go back to, playing in the yard with my stick or whatever. It just wasn't that.
No,
it's just there's so much. I mean, I'm literally watching streaming TV with my wife while I have my phone on and I'm checking headlines or something.
And doing a talk radio conversation. I hear you. You are multitasking. You mentioned your Armenian roots. When we come forward, I want to ask you how you are processing, Eric Bogosian, the conflicts in Ukraine and Israel through your Armenian American lens, and then we'll get into the good stuff, all the work he's doing on stage and on screen. You're listening to Tavis Smiley, and I'm glad about it.
Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Thanks for sharing a part of your Tuesday with us here on the Black Information Network. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest. The National Weather Service is declaring a tornado emergency for Barnesville, Oklahoma. Several tornadoes have already been spotted with large parts of the central and eastern parts of the state on alert. Parts of southern Kansas could also be affected. We're now learning that the city of Chicago, Illinois is settling a lawsuit that claims African-American employees of the Department of Water Management were subject to racist and sexist slurs. The deal was reached Monday during a status hearing that led federal U.S. District Judge Matthew Kennelly to vacate the upcoming trial date. The amount of the settlement was not immediately disclosed as the agreement still needs to be approved by the Chicago City Council. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers front office needs to be taking notes on how the Minnesota Timberwolves have taken a 2-0 lead against the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. The Nuggets have 8 straight playoff wins over the Lakers, but they have looked like an average team against the T-Wolves. The Nuggets lost by 26 at home Monday night. Lakers management needs to examine how the T-Wolves roster was constructed. It's obvious the Lakers don't have the personnel to deal with the Nuggets. San Antonio Spurs center Victor Wembanyama is the unanimous choice for NBA Rookie of the Year. Wembanyama received all 99 first-place votes. The native of France averaged 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 3.6 block shots. The Dodgers extended their winning streak to 5. They lead the NL West by 5.5. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Compassion sponsorship means food, health care, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year in their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal, most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 2. So much for love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQL.
ZQL, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQL nights. Explore our products at ZQL.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis.
Continuing our conversation now with the brilliant thespian, actor, producer, writer Eric Bogosian. You've seen Eric everywhere over the years, Law and Order, Succession, which I want to talk about. This Sunday, season 2 of AMC's Interview with the Vampire premieres. We'll talk about that. He has a star turn in that as well. Busy guy, and delighted he had an hour to spend in conversation with us today. Before I jump into the creative stuff, your thoughts, Eric, on how you process, how you view the conflicts in Ukraine and Israel through your Armenian American lens, sir?
Well, obviously, it's a tough topic because if it weren't, we wouldn't have such a hard time talking about it. I published a book in 2015 about the Armenian Avengers. This was a true story, who went and assassinated all the leaders of Turkey after the genocide, which occurred during World War I. And in 1921, they sent this death squad into Europe, and they knocked off like 7 of these guys. The Armenian genocide, it figures very prominently in my mind and in my family's history, and so I feel very close to what is this. And I spent 7 years working on that book, and I really had to meditate the whole time I was working on it on how do these things happen, and who are the people on the ground doing these horrible things to each other. Mm-hmm. My conclusion is simply that these are situations, whether it's Ukraine or what's happening right now in Israel or what happened in Turkey and Armenia, where the leaders, for their own political gain, send the poor people, the peasants or whoever the local people are, against each other, and there's these huge fatalities, just lives destroyed, farms destroyed. Everything is just a huge wave of destruction, and it happens because of political reasons. And these leaders go after each other. They never pay the price. It's always the people at the bottom. I mean, even something that most Americans don't even have ever given a second thought to, the Iran-Iraq war of the 1980s, where millions and millions of young men died. It's horrible, and I'm a pacifist, and I'm completely against this stuff. Now, I don't claim to have any expertise in politics. This is just from my point of view, working on that book, and just like everybody else reading the newspaper every day. I do believe that basic human values, when they are encouraged, and I believe in them, for compassion, empathy for others, makes it harder and harder for people to go at each other. And I wish I could see more of that. But unfortunately, there's the term racism, but when you take a place like Armenia or the Armenians as a minority group who are Christian in the Ottoman Empire, which was a Muslim empire, whether people like to believe, my grandfather liked to believe that Turks and Armenians were essentially different people. The truth is they're really kind of similar people. They have different religions, and that's what set them at each other, because the leaders decided that this would be opportune for the leaders to massacre human. It's this religious stuff. This is the stuff that's the problem. The people basically are the same people, but of course again, I don't know if the word racist really applies here, but the people at the top want to tell they want to say, these other people, they are, like in Hitler's terms, they're a virus. They're an infection. They're and this comes up again and again and again. And if you're like me or like you, I guess, we just don't feel that way. We feel that we are all human beings, and so the more you feel that, the less this stuff can happen. I'm sorry, it's such a vague way of answering you. I don't have a more specific thing to say.
No, I receive it. And I'm glad I asked, because you said something I want to interrogate right quick here, watching my time's getting away from me. I am a love warrior, but I am not a pacifist. If you slap me, I'm going to slap you back. Even though Dr. King is my hero, and he in fact was a pacifist as well. I'm a love warrior, but not a pacifist. But I am curious, given your own acknowledged pacifism, how a pacifist sees, much less navigates, the world, the violent world that we live in today.
Well, for me, just pragmatically speaking, under some of the most recent administrations, they have destroyed and shrunk the State Department. The State Department is there to try to stop these things from happening, through negotiations, through ambassadors, and through people talking to each other. That's the only way. Of course, I've not been in a war situation. I have a family. If somebody does something to my family, I'll step into them in a second. I can say I'm a pacifist, but I'm also you're a realist. You're a realist as well. I'm going to push you back. You push me. But I'm not in that situation.
Right.
I'm a person who's living the good life in the United States of America, and I just want to do everything I can to support those people who maybe looks a little weak or wimpy or something to talk rather than fight, but that's the way that I'm for that. Again, back to what you were saying earlier about dialogue. Let's have more dialogue. Let's get those. But if you keep destroying the State Department, you don't lay the foundations. There are foundations to be laid, and then you don't see them all the time. And then the notion of attacking an embassy or something. These are these things that were sacrosanct because they provide these islands of rationality when something horrible like war breaks out. Whatever it is.
Nope, I take your point. When we come forward, Eric Bogosian, now to the creative side of what he does. We'll talk about his project, 100 Monologues. We will talk about Season 2 of AMC's Interview with the Vampire, premiering this Sunday, May the 12th. And we'll talk about maybe his turn on Law & Order. Many of you loved him on Law & Order. And I am particularly fascinated by Succession. I got hooked. I loved that series, Succession. And I have to even ask myself sometimes why I was so fascinated with all these fictional billionaires. But I was. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton. And I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Hi, it's Tavis, Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union Symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one. Let's bring a bang. Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Sounds different. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with the actor and writer and producer Eric Bogosian, who I'm honored to have on this program. My time is getting tight on me, Eric. Tell me about 100 Monologues.
I was on Broadway for 6 shows between 1980 and 2000, and the shows were monologue shows. And so I wrote almost 100 monologues, and then when you include my play scripts and so forth, there's 100 monologues. And over the years, people have told me they've tried doing them themselves. A lot of college students do them. Friends of mine have done them. I have a lot of friends who are incredibly talented actors. And at some point, I just decided I'm going to just film a lot of people doing them, all my friends. And I thought it would be a simple thing, but it turns out it was a little more complicated. We had to actually make an agreement with Screen Actors Guild and so forth. But the site is called 100monologues.com, and now there are 80. I think there's like 80 of them posted, and some of them are done by people that you know and love, like Peter Dinklage or Sam Rockwell or Sebastian Stan or Winona Ryder. They've done them. And then there are people that you've never heard of, like Ava Langford or Scott Sowers or Karen Kargoulian. Maybe you've heard of Karen. He's in a lot of Sean Baker movies. And then there are people that are sort of, some of them weren't even known when we started. Like I asked Betty Gilpin to do one, and now Betty Gilpin's a big star. Peter Scanavito, you speak about Law and Order. He's on SVU. He had quit the business, and I got Peter to come and do the monologue. And so at any rate, a lot of people, you can just pick and choose if there's somebody you really like. And then they do these monologues, which are, some are serious, a lot of them are funny, goofy, and stood the test of time. So that's it. 100monologues.com. It's free. It's going to be up until we finish. When we get all 100, we then will take it down and probably sell it to streaming or something, and then it will be there. But for now, it's there for free. Anybody wants it, you just go on the site, you pick which one you want to watch.
it's a wonderful creative pursuit, and I love the diversity, the range of people, including a number of black performers, Seth Gillum, Jenny Jules, Russell G. Jones, X-Blow, a number of people of African descent doing these dialogues, these monologues.
Andre Royo did one of my shows last spring here in New York, but he's in L.A. I can't shoot him doing one of the bits, but he did being in America.
No.
Wonderful actor. I mean, yeah, Mums Grant, who passed away a few years ago, one of our greats in the New York poetry and acting scene. Yeah, it's our community. It's about our community. It's a big community, and it's full of love. And these guys you don't get any better than the people that are doing them on this. So, I don't know. Check it out.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with Eric Bogosian, we'll talk about Season 2, the premiere of AMC's Interview with the Vampire, happening this Sunday. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out, I didn't have to say, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When you get nachos, tacos, empanadas, spicy queso with jalapenos, Pepto-Bismol's there. Pepto-Bismol provides fast, effective relief from nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea. All the things that can happen unexpectedly on vacation. So before you travel, pack the Pepto. Pepto-Bismol. When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Eric Bogosian, you played that progressive senator on secession. Can you help me understand why? Because I haven't figured out yet, although I got pulled in, why I was so fascinated by the lives of these billionaires on secession.
Look, great writing, great actors, great direction. The show was just, sometimes you get all the good ingredients in there and the thing, it just pops. I think some people write for TV and they don't understand what it is that you really want to watch. And what you really want to watch in dramas is secrets and changing relationships, and this just sucks you in and you want to find out. As far as, I mean, the life of billionaires, it looks kind of gruesome, actually, and maybe that's why we want to watch it. Is like, their life isn't that great. They end up, I mean, all you really need in life is a bag of potato chips and a TV set, but they have to do all this other stuff. They have to take a jet to get from one bag of potato chips to the next bag of potato chips.
That's funny. When you look back on Law and Order, that enterprise is just is amazing to me. The way that thing continues to churn out shows all the time in so many different iterations. But when you look quickly back on your time on Law and Order, you think what?
I was on the very first ones when it was the mothership, and I was a lawyer in the first couple in the first season, and then many years later, I had been wanting to be on it as a regular, and Warren Light, who is the showrunner of CI, he asked me, do I want to be captain, or I want to jump in and I ended up doing it for 3 years. Loved it. I mean, very serious acting. Nobody ever smiles on that show. Nobody ever laughs. And so it's kind of like old-fashioned Elia Kazan style drama, like On the Waterfront or something. And I dug it. And plus, you get to work with all kinds of great people and put my kids through college. So all of those things.
That part, as they say, that part. Finally here, this Sunday is the season 2 premiere of AMC's Interview with the Vampire. Tell me about that, at least what you can, Eric Bogosian.
Well, I had been thinking, what is it that I haven't done that I want to do? And the next day I got an offer, and I said to myself, I want to be a vampire. And the next day I got the offer out of the blue for the first season, which is shot in New Orleans. This season is shot in Paris and in Prague. It's very hard to explain to people that when something's great, and this show is great. It's great. We have a great showrunner, Roland Jones, and the writing is just amazing. I mean, vampires, all of that, but there's a lot more too. They take the Anne Rice, when I say writer, of course it's Anne Rice's with the vampire, and then our leads. Our cup runneth over, but in the first season, Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson locked it down and created this great series. I'm the interviewer. I interview the vampire, mainly interview Jacob, who's a wonderful guy to work with. And then now in our second season, we have Assad Zaman and we have Delaney Hales, who plays Claudia. Last year it was Bailey Bass. Now she couldn't continue with the show. So I can't explain it to you. You just have to try it out. I think there's free. You can sort of dip your toes in and see what you think. But the writing is wild. And again, Anne Rice started up. Look, the vampire thing is this. You get to be immortal and you get to drink all the blood.
That's it.
Everybody does it. Nobody wants to die, but do you really want to live forever? Yeah. And that becomes sort of the foundation of. Look, I can't describe it. I'll tell you this. This is the best writing I've done, and I've been on some great things lately. I've been on Succession, and I did this movie Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler, and it was amazing stuff. But this writing, I get to do things I've just basically never done in front of a camera.
It is this Sunday, the season 2 premiere of Interview with the Vampire on May the 12th. There's that. Finally, I'm out of time here. If you're in the New York area listening to us, he being Eric Bogosian, is staging once again his seminal play Suburbia at the Tom Kane Theater in Brooklyn. That's this week, May 10th and May 11th, Friday and Saturday. So if you're in the New York area and looking for something fun and fascinating to do this weekend, May 10th and 11th, again, the new stage of his seminal play Suburbia at the Tom Kane Theater in Brooklyn. Eric, I got to run. I'm out of time, man. Thank you for your time. Good to have you on the program, sir.
Tavis.
All the best to you, my friend. Just like that, 3 hours gone, back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thanks for sharing a part of your Tuesday with us here on the Black Information Network. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest. The National Weather Service is declaring a tornado emergency for Barnesville, Oklahoma. Several tornadoes have already been spotted with large parts of the central and eastern parts of the state on alert. Parts of southern Kansas could also be affected. We're now learning that the city of Chicago, Illinois is settling racist slurs. The deal was reached Monday during a status hearing that led federal U.S. District Judge Matthew Kennelly to vacate the upcoming trial date. The amount of the settlement was not immediately disclosed as the agreement still needs to be approved by the Chicago City Council. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Las Vegas Raiders are finalizing negotiations to bring their training camp this summer to Costa Mesa. The Raiders will be using the Jack Hammond Sports Complex for all training camp activities. A team spokesperson said the practices will be open to the public. The Raiders are the 5th NFL team that will conduct their training camp this summer in Southern California. In addition to the Rams and Chargers, the New Orleans